The rain had been relentless that night, one of those nights where the sky seemed to cry harder than any man could. Eli Turner gripped the steering wheel of the old Buick so tightly his knuckles turned pale. The windshield wipers struggled against the downpour as three masked figures burst from the liquor store and sprinted toward the car. "Go, go, go!" The shout pierced through the rain like a bullet. Eli slammed the accelerator. In the rearview mirror, red and blue lights flashed like a heartbeat of guilt. The tires screamed against wet asphalt, and for the next 7 minutes, his entire life unfolded in streaks of neon, thunder, and fear. He had promised himself it would be one job, just one, to cover his mother's medical bills. But when one of the robbers, a jittery kid named Marco, pulled the trigger and shot the store clerk, that one job became a death sentence. Welcome to Shadows of Justice, where crime meets compassion. If you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. For returning viewers, thanks for sticking to the channel. Eli didn't pull the trigger. He didn't even step foot inside the store. But he was the one behind the wheel, the one who got them away, the one who carried 4 souls in his car and left one dying on the floor. The court called him the Getaway driver. He called himself a coward who never left the scene. He served 12 years in Ironwood State Prison. For most inmates, the sound of the cell door slamming shut meant confinement. For Eli, it meant repetition, the sound of that gunshot echoing every single night. Inside, he worked at the prison garage. Engines were simple, predictable. They didn't lie, didn't panic, didn't pull triggers. He fixed what was broken in others because he couldn't fix what was broken in himself. The parole board saw a quiet man, but silence wasn't peace, it was punishment. After his release, Eli moved to a small town outside Richmond, Virginia. He found work at a used car lot, stayed out of trouble, and avoided eye contact. But one habit lingered. Every time he heard sirens, he'd freeze, eyes darting toward the horizon like he was still behind the wheel, waiting for the flashing lights. He lived in a rented one-room apartment above a laundromat, the kind that smelled like detergent and loneliness. The clerk he'd helped kill, his name was Arthur Levinson, a father of 2. Eli had memorized it like scripture. He couldn't forget even if he tried. One afternoon, while changing oil on a rusty pickup, Eli heard a voice he'd never expected. "You fixed cars in prison, didn't you?" He looked up. A man in his late 40s stood before him, tall, sharp features, and eyes that burned with recognition. "My name's Nathan Levinson," the man said. Arthur Levinson's son. Eli's heart stopped. His wrench clattered to the floor. Nathan didn't yell, didn't swing. He simply stared, like he'd been rehearsing this moment for years. "I looked you up. You were the driver, the one who never got out of the car." Eli nodded, unable to speak. Nathan sighed, almost weary. "I used to dream of finding you, hurting you. But then I started working at a youth rehab center. Turns out hate doesn't heal anything." Eli's throat tightened. "Why are you here?" "Because the center's car broke down, and someone told me you were the best mechanic in town." He paused. "So here I am, asking you to help fix something." That day, the 2 men didn't talk much. Eli fixed the van. Nathan waited silently. When the job was done, Nathan left a card on the counter. Willow Creek Youth Center. "Come by sometime. They could use someone who knows what second chances mean." Eli resisted at first. He didn't think redemption was something you earned. It was something you begged for and rarely got. But one evening, after another sleepless night haunted by sirens, he walked into the center. Nathan greeted him at the door, surprised but calm. The place was alive with noise, teenagers laughing, shouting, living. It was chaos, but it was hopeful chaos. "You can help with the shop program," Nathan said. We teach auto repair to kids who need direction." Eli nodded. Direction. Yeah, I remember needing that. Over weeks that turned into months, he taught them the basics: oil changes, spark plugs, brake pads. But he also taught them something deeper: patience, responsibility, pride, and honest work. One kid stood out: Lewis, 16, bright eyes, hands that trembled every time police drove by. Eli saw himself in that boy. Same fear, same anger. One afternoon, Lewis asked, "You ever do something you wish you could take back?" Eli froze. The question wasn't about mechanics, it was about memory. "Every day," Eli said. "But wishing isn't fixing. Fixing is what we do here." Lewis nodded slowly. "Then maybe I can fix myself, too." 3 years later, Eli received a letter. The return address, Arthur Levinson's widow. He sat at his kitchen table, staring at it for hours before opening it. The handwriting was shaky but deliberate. "Mr. Turner, I've heard you've been helping at the youth center my son runs. I don't forgive what happened, but I've learned to stop hating you. Arthur believed every man deserved a chance to do good before his end. Maybe you're proving him right. Marion Levinson." Eli wept for the first time in 20 years. Not loud, not messy, just tears slipping down a face that had forgotten how to feel. He realized then that forgiveness wasn't about being told you're forgiven. It was about learning to live in a way that no longer needed the words. On the 20th anniversary of the robbery, Eli drove back to the old store. It was now a bakery. The cracked sidewalk still remembered the tire marks he left behind. He parked across the street and sat there for an hour, watching customers laugh and hold pastries. Life had rebuilt itself over the ruins of his mistake. Nathan appeared beside him, stepping out of his car. "I figured you'd be here." Eli smiled weakly. "Guess I finally made a getaway that led me back." They stood in silence, rain starting to fall again, soft, forgiving rain. Nathan handed him a paper bag. Inside was a single cinnamon roll. "Arthur used to bake those every Sunday. He'd give them to the neighborhood kids. I thought maybe it's time you had one." Eli bit into it, tears mixing with the rain. "He must have been a good man." "He was, but you're trying to be one now. That counts for something." Years passed. The youth center expanded. Eli became the quiet mentor everyone called Mr. T. He didn't have to tell them about his past. He didn't have to. The way he listened, the way he guided, said enough. When he died of a heart condition at 61, the kids organized a memorial car show in his honor. They parked every repaired vehicle he'd ever touched in a long line down the street, engines humming like a prayer. Nathan stood at the podium, voice steady. He was a man who once drove away from everything good in his life, but he spent the rest of it driving others towards theirs. As the engines roared in unison, the sound didn't feel like sirens anymore. It felt like freedom. Late that evening, Nathan visited Eli's small apartment. On the wall hung a single photograph, a faded snapshot of the old Buick parked under a rain-soaked streetlight. Under it was a note in Eli's handwriting. "The car is gone, but I never stopped steering towards better roads." Nathan smiled faintly. The man who never left the scene finally had. Outside, the rain began again, gentle, rhythmic, almost like applause. This is Shadows of Justice, where crime meets compassion. Subscribe for more emotional true crime and redemption storytelling, where every scar tells a story worth hearing.